Hey, I'm Mark. Get in here, sit down. The 80s, man, let's go. This period, let's look at the movie that sets the stage for a whole genre of movies to follow. Let's look at the movie that changed the way we look at vampires and set the standard for the 21st century vampire movies. The Lost Boys. Let's go rogue. When teenager Michael and his kid brother Sam moved to Santa Carla with their recently divorced mother, they soon realized that they've moved into what the locals call the murder capital of the world, with posters of missing persons spread all over town. At a bonfire at the town's Beach Boardwalk, Michael makes eye contact with a nice young woman named Star. Star is an associate of a group of teenage motorcyclists led by David. Michael is challenged to follow the group on a motorcycle ride across the beach. In the fog, David almost runs Michael off a cliff, and Michael challenges David to a fight. David asks Michael, "How far are you willing to go?" Michael joins the group as they retreat to their hideout, a cave housing a wrecked hotel destroyed in the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Michael has dinner with the group, then drinks from a bottle of what he's told is wine. The next morning, Michael notices some changes. He sleeps late, his eyes are sensitive to sunlight, he has an appetite for blood. He knows he has a real problem when he wakes up on the ceiling of his bedroom. The wine from his dinner, apparently, was David's blood, and Michael was becoming a vampire. Younger brother Sam has a solution to Michael's problem. Edgar and Alan Frog are young vampire hunters. They give the good news that Michael is not a full-blown vampire, he's only half vampire, because he's not made his first kill. He can be restored if the head vampire is killed. Michael and Sam join the Frog brothers on an offensive to kill the teenaged biker vampire gang. At their underground lair, Michael saves Star and Laddie, while the Frog brothers stake one of the vampires, Alex Winter, the half of Bill and Ted that's not Keanu Reeves. When the other vampires wake up, the attackers flee, returning to Sam and Michael's house. When the sun goes down, the three remaining vampires, led by David, gain access to the house, and they attack Sam and Michael and the Frog brothers. But rather than give the rest of the story away, I'll leave it here. Watch the movie. It's awesome. This movie is straight up 1980s. Big hair, Kiefer Sutherland's mullet, Jason Patric's sunglasses, Corey Haim's bright colored clothes. All he needed were the leg warmers. Joel Schumacher wanted the Frog brothers to be hard-edged, so he had Corey Feldman and Jameson Newlander study 80s mega heroes Sylvester Stallone and Chuck Norris. Feldman responded by wearing a red bandana, a la Johnny Rambo. One cannot downplay the influence of MTV. The movie's soundtrack is jammed with great 80s sounding music, headed by MTV staples In Excess and Lou Gramm, a Foreigner. Although there was a certain amount of creepiness with the oiled up, muscle-bound, sexy sax guy doing his concert on the beach. Teenage vampires. Times were good in the 1980s. Teens could find jobs and had extra income to go to the movies. Hence, many movies at the time were directed towards teenage audiences. John Hughes made millions on movies like 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, and The Breakfast Club. Kiefer Sutherland and Corey Feldman had just finished the coming-of-age movie Stand By Me in 1985, and were therefore cast in the filming of The Lost Boys in 1986. In fact, The Lost Boys' original script was supposed to feature a much younger cast. It was based on the 1985 film The Goonies, except now it had vampires instead of pirates. The movie's director was Richard Donner, who had previously filmed The Goonies, which again starred Corey Feldman. The Lost Boys itself is a reference to the Lost Boys in the story of Peter Pan, who have no parents and never grow up. They were supposed to be 12-year-old vampires. In the original script, Mom was named Wendy, and the two sons were Michael and John. The Frog brothers were supposed to be chubby 8-year-old Boy Scouts. That concept changed when producer Richard Donner left the film to work on Lethal Weapon, and direction ended up in the hands of Joel Schumacher, who wanted to give the story an edge, retooling the script and raising the age of the characters, throwing in the gratuitous, mandatory 80s teenage sex scene between Star and Michael, which did nothing to advance the plot of the film, by the way. In terms of movie history, The Lost Boys acts as a bridge between the old vampire movies and a new breed of vampire films, where the bloodsuckers are younger and cooler. Before The Lost Boys, vampires were gothic, usually based on Bram Stoker's Count Dracula or Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu's Carmilla. In homage to the older films, the mother character in The Lost Boys is named Lucy, the same name as the main female character in the Bram Stoker novel, who's seduced by Dracula. At the end of The Lost Boys, Lucy gives her neck to the head vampire. But the focus of the movie is on the young vampires. Cool, hip, rock and roll, wearing trench coats and walking between the horses of the merry-go-round on the boardwalk, riding motorcycles on the beach without getting them stuck in the sand. Makes you want to be like them. Producers of later films recognized this. Although 1994's Interview with a Vampire returned to the gothic look, come on, Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt? Between 1997 and 2003, Sarah Michelle Gellar took to the airwaves as Buffy the Vampire Slayer. More recently, the Twilight series had vampires suffering from teenage angst. The 2014 vampire mockumentary, What We Do in the Shadows, references a scene from The Lost Boys, where David changes noodles into worms and rice into maggots. The vampires in The Lost Boys don't display the eroticism of Dracula or Carmilla. Girls might swoon for Kiefer Sutherland or Jason Patric, but that's not what the writers were going for. The most intense scene in The Lost Boys occurs when the Lost Boys come upon a group of surf Nazis partying around a bonfire. The vampires attack, not seducing and biting lustily on the neck, but rather in a piranha-like feeding frenzy, biting any part of the body that they can get to the victim's blood. But I'm a history teacher, and I'm going rogue. What about the broader historical context? The 80s, MTV. When MTV was introduced in 1981, its premise was simple: 24 hours of music videos. In spite of its moral shortcomings, MTV changed entertainment forever. Why? The remote control. Knowing that audience would click away when programming became lame or slow, MTV presented camera shots that were quick and slick. A couple of seconds here, a couple of seconds there, if that. Multiple camera angles, sweeping crane shots. That's what the viewer gets with The Lost Boys, along with a great music soundtrack. It's like a story being told through a series of 80s music videos all tied together. And a little, between Michael and Star. More historical context. Reagan, man. The height of conservatism. Family values. The defeat of the Equal Rights Amendment. The Lost Boys acts as a bridge between old and new for women. Between the traditional role of mothers and the more liberated Murphy Brown types. Amongst all the testosterone, the two main female characters are Lucy, Michael and Sam's mother, and Star, the half-vampire teenage girl that's gratuitously boinked by Michael. Star, played by Jamie Gertz, is the damsel in distress. She's Snow White, in need of a Prince Charming. Ellen Ripley, she ain't. When David tells her to get on the back of his motorcycle, she complies without question. She's the de facto guardian for Laddie, a 5-year-old boy that is also half vampire. Oh my God, the attack of Eddie Munster! Because everyone knows, even in the 1980s, that watching the children is a woman's job. Star doesn't move the needle at all for female characters. Lucy, played by Diane Wiest, is recently divorced, liberated from her unhappy marriage and striking out on her own. But there's still the traditional family element, as Lucy is looking for a father for her boys and begins dating Max, who's looking for a wife. At the end of the film, He notes that the boys need a mother. Even a family of vampire children need a mom and dad. As Edgar Frog remarks, the blood-sucking Brady Bunch. Hey, you want a good look at 80s culture? The Lost Boys. Hey, thanks for coming by. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. If I did it right, you did both. Where were you in 1987? Did you see the movie The Lost Boys? Good flick. I had fun remembering this great 1980s movie. But I'll quit my day job. And the next time you're at the beach, dance around a bonfire with your surf Nazi pals, and Kiefer Sutherland shows up with fangs and funky contact lenses and tries to bite you through your skull. Remember me. I'm Mark Haggard. I'm a history teacher. And I've gone rogue.